Senator Cameron.
Thank you, Mr President. My question is to the Minister for Employment, Senator Cash. This afternoon, the Minister announced the resignation of Nigel Hadgkiss as Commissioner of the Australian Building and Construction Commission. Given the seriousness of Mr Hadgkiss's misbehaviour, why did the Minister allow him to resign instead of just sacking him?
The Minister for Employment, Senator Cash.
Thank you, Mr President. And I have to say, seriously, I don't even know if I should dignify that with an answer. Because when you talk about serious behaviour is what we saw today. A fine in excess of $2.4 million handed down against the CFMEU.
Order. On my right. On my right. Senator McGrath and Senator Billick. Senator Carr, point of order.
It's a serious question. It goes to the question of Commonwealth officer breaching the law. The Minister has said that this was a question that did not deserve an answer. There is a question of relevance that I brought to your attention. It's a specific question. The Minister ought to answer it directly.
Thank you, Senator Carr. I will remind the Minister of the question. Minister.
Well, thank you, Mr President. And as I've said, Mr Hadgkiss today did tender his resignation to the government as head of the Australian Building and Construction Commission, and the government accepted that resignation. But in relation to the conduct of those on the other side and those that they support, let me remind you—
Order. Point of order, Senator Cameron. On my right, just a moment, Senator Cameron. On my right, Senator McDonald. Senator McDonald. Order. Order. And on my left as well. Senator Cameron.
Yeah, thanks, Mr President. It's on direct relevance. My question was simple, only one question. Why did the Minister allow him to resign instead of just sacking him?
The Minister did answer by indicating that the government did accept the resignation and announced the resignation. I feel as though the Minister has been directly relevant to the question. By the way, she has answered the question, Senator Cameron, in the first instance. I know it's not as specific as you would like, but I think she's been directly relevant to the answer. Minister, had you concluded your answer?
Thank you,
Minister.
Mr President. And I will not stand here and be lectured by those on the other side who stand up and defend criminal behaviour across unions and in particular the CFMEU. I will not stand here and be lectured by those on the other side who take tens of millions of dollars from a criminal organisation. I will not stand here and be lectured by those on the other side.
Order. Senator Cameron, point of order.
Mr President, again on relevance. This was a very serious question about a commissioner appointed by this minister having to resign because of illegal activity. I'm asking why the minister did not sack this individual, and she should answer it.
Well, order on my right. Senator Cameron, in relation to the point of order, you did ask why did the minister not sack? Why did the minister accept the resignation rather than sack? The minister indicated that she did accept the resignation, or the government had accepted the resignation. Well, the minister has been directly relevant to the question. Now, the minister has heard your points of order on two occasions, Senator Cameron, and the minister has 50 seconds left, and I invite the minister to continue her answer. Minister.
Thank you, Mr President. Deny, distract and then defend. Let's go through again a number of those who are well known to those on the other side and the behaviour they have indulged in. Sean Reardon, the CFMEU's Victorian Assistant State Secretary, already fined $50,000. Of course, was actually a white ribbon ambassador until, colleagues, he was dumped by White Ribbon for his disgusting behaviour when it comes to violence against women. That is who those on the other side defend. Gareth Stevenson, another CFMEU organiser who has been fined $118,000. Ralph Edwards, the Victorian branch president, himself already fined $53,250. And of course, Duncan McAllister, 101 alleged breaches, including
Thank you,
coercion
Minister. The time
and
for answering the
threats.
question has expired. Order. 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 Senator Cameron, supplementary
Thank you,
question.
Mr. President. Mr. Hadgkiss has admitted to recklessly breaching Section 503 of the Fair Work Act. When did the minister first become aware of the behaviour Mr. Hadgkiss now admits was a breach of the Act?
Minister.
Thank you, Mr. President, and I became aware of the behaviour in October 2016.
Thank you. Thank you, Minister. Senator Cameron, final supplementary question.
Yep. Yeah. In announcing Mr. Hadgkiss's resignation, the minister said he, and I quote, has played a pivotal role in restoring the rule of law. How can the minister make this claim given Mr. Hadgkiss has himself admitted to recklessly breaching the law?
Minister.
Again, Mr. President, I will not stand here and be lectured by those on the other side who stand here and defend the most militant union in Australia, who have been found guilty, many of them, of what is criminal conduct. I will not stand here and be lectured to by those on the other side who happily defend members of the CFMEU.
Order. On my left. Senator Cameron, point of order.
Thanks, Mr. President. I was not lecturing. I simply asked the question, how can the minister make this claim given Mr. Hadgkiss has himself admitted to recklessly breaching the law? That was the question. It's on relevance.
Thank you, Senator Cameron. I will remind the Minister of the question. Minister, you have 32 seconds in which
Thank
to
you.
answer.
And again, I will not stand here and be lectured by those on the other side whilst they continue to take tens of millions of dollars from the CFMEU, who have been found to be the most militant union in this country, and when federal court judge after federal court judge has stated they have no regard
Order.
for the law.
Senator Cameron, point of order.
Again, Mr. President, on relevance, this was about Mr. Hadgkiss having to resign because of recklessly breaking the law. That was the question.
Thank you, Senator Cameron. I accept your point of order again. I will remind the Minister of the question. Minister.
I'm finished.
You have finished? Thank you, Minister. Order. Senator Hanson-Young.